First and foremost, I want to thank you for coming on the platform. I really appreciate you taking out the time to stop by and share some of the information with us.
My pleasure.
All right, all right. For the viewers who may not recognize you, could you let them know who you are and what you do?
Okay, I'm Stuart Pimm. I hold the Doris Duke Chair of Conservation at Duke University. I'm also the president of a nonprofit called Saving Nature. And what I do is to work in countries around the world, tropical countries around the world, to help stop the loss of biodiversity.
Wow, that sounds really amazing. What countries have you done work in?
Oh, I work a lot in Colombia and Ecuador and Brazil in South America. I do a lot of work in Southern Africa, that's Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, Zambia. And then I do quite a lot of work in China too.
Wow, okay, that's very interesting. It's inspiring as well. I'm a world traveler. I've been to about 70 countries. I'm in Africa now. I'm in Ghana. I'm on the west side.
You know, I've never been to West Africa. It's one part of the world I've yet to visit.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's pretty cool. I think you'll like it.
I'm sure I will.
Definitely, definitely. Now I can ask you, when did you develop this passion for, natural science and, nature and things like that?
I was very lucky when I was a kid. My parents loved to go hiking and camping. That was how we had our holidays. We went camping, and weekends when we had the chance, we would go off and walk. I grew up in the north of England, so there was lots of places to hike and walk there, and that just got me interested in the natural world. I became an enthusiastic bird watcher when I was a teenager, and I've bird watched all around the world, and it's given me a an extraordinary opportunity to see what we're doing to the natural world and to look at opportunities to make it a better place.
Oh, okay. Wow, wow, that's really cool. That's amazing that, as a child, your parents was able to expose you to those things. How do you feel about children today? Especially like in America, everybody's on the iPads, the iPhones, the video games.
I think that's such a shame. I mean, iPads are wonderful things. I'm glad I have a computer. I use my iPhone a lot. But I also enjoy being out in nature. I live on the outskirts of Durham, where Duke University is, and most days of the week I walk through the woods to my coffee shop. And I really feel enormously lucky that I can spend time in nature.
Yes, indeed. Nature is a beautiful thing. I opened the urban garden like 2 years ago. I'm a beekeeper, had chickens, growing the fruits and vegetables. And, it does a lot for you mentally, physically, and, also nutritionally, but a lot of people,
Absolutely.
they missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I can ask you about this. You do have a website, Saving Nature. What is that about for the viewers who haven't had a chance to check it out?
So one of the things that we realize that in many parts of the world that we have not only destroyed nature, but we've left nature in pieces, that we have fragmented the natural landscapes. So we have a little bit of forest there and a little bit of forest there and another bit of forest over there. Um, so nature has been, uh, you know, fragmented, destroyed. And so one of the things that we do is help local conservation groups buy up land. We don't own the land, but local groups do, and to reforest it. So our money goes to help local groups in the countries that I mentioned buy land and plant lots of native trees. We've planted several million trees thus far, of probably 1,000 native species. And it's a way of healing nature that allows the best, the best opportunity for the money to allow species to survive.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So I can speak for myself. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm from the urban area, but there were a lot of abandoned houses and people would break in and, steal the plumbing out and it become vacant. Then they tear them down. And then we have a lot of like empty lots, but people would dump trash in the lots, tires and empty bags and stuff like that. So I've been buying, different plots and turning them into urban gardens. And that's a way, for myself to try to make the community a lot safer, less hazardous, and more natural. But for viewers who may want to help, may want to change things, do you have any suggestions on things that they can do as individuals?
I think there's a lot of things we can do as individuals. What you've described, I think, is a good idea. But I think we can also recognize that we can heal nature. We can restore areas, which is what you seem to be doing and what I certainly do. And we can bring our environments back to something like where they used to be. And that is very effective, but it's also, I think, really restorative in that it tells us we can treat the world better than we have. So yes, get engaged with people who are doing good local things, whether it's local in Cleveland or whether it's in Colombia or Brazil or Tanzania.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, can I ask you, when you engaging with people in different groups and also your students as well, is this a hard concept for them to understand, the importance of it, or do they kind of jump on and get it right away?
I think people understand it. People are very quickly realize that natural areas, whether it's a city park or whether it's a rainforest in the Americas, that those are beautiful places. We as a species feel happier when we're out in nature. There's an increasing amount of research that shows that people are enjoy better health if they get out in nature. People pay a huge amount of money to live next to the ocean or next to a park or out in the countryside. Not everybody can afford to do that, but I think everybody has the chance to get out, and so we should be looking after our environments better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I was checking out your profile, and one of the things they mention is, you talk about why species become extinct and how fast they are, going away. Why is that important, and how, can we, for example, I know like in my community, everybody when the bees come out, they get to spraying under the porch in the backyard, and they killing the bees, the mosquitoes, the lightning bugs. Why are those things important?
Well, I think spraying insecticides around where you live is not a good idea. I think there are really three reasons why we should be care about nature. I call them the three E's, and as I will explain, I can spell. The first one is ethics. I think we have a moral responsibility to look after our world and to give our world to our children and our grandchildren in at least as good a condition as we got it from our parents. Um, so if we drive species to extinction, we are not being good stewards. And I think, major religions, Christians, Muslims, um, Hindus, Buddhists, all have a core of ideas that recognize that we need to be good stewards. We need to look after the planet that we have. The second reason is aesthetics, and I know that doesn't start with an E, but it sounds as if it does. You know, in that wonderful movie, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy says, "Oh, lions and tigers and bears, will there be wild things out there?" Wouldn't it be terrible if the answer were no? I think nature is beautiful. Everybody I've ever met is fascinated by lions and tigers and bears and whales and all the rest of nature. Um, and so I think nature inspires us, and it would be a tragedy if we destroyed it. The other reason is simply economics. Nature is really valuable to us. We are all aware that we are we are heating the planet. The planet is getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and people are beginning to die of excessive heat. People are beginning to be harmed by ever more powerful storms. There are massive fires in the West. All of those things. Well, about 10% of all the global carbon dioxide emissions comes from burning forests. And that's more than all cars and trucks combined. So we need to look after nature. Nature provides us what we call nature services or ecosystem services, technically. So nature does a lot of things for us. If we destroy forests, we're going to have an atmosphere that's going to lead to extreme weather. If we destroy rivers, they are not going to clean up for us. If we do bad things, we're not going to get the benefit of having nature. So I think there's a lot of very good, straightforward economic reasons why we should um, not destroy nature. So, you know, it's the right thing to do. It's an ethical reason. We love nature. Nature is valuable to us.
Yes, it is. It's definitely valuable to us. Now, you kind of touched on it a little bit. I guess maybe the last few decades, a lot of people have been talking about global warming and
Right?
climate change. And, you've been seeing like electric cars or solar panels or things that appear to be environmentally friendly or friendlier. Has there been any advancement or any you know, things that can help the global warming, or have
Yeah.
things gotten
I
worse?
mean, there's no doubt that technology is making a huge difference. That the amount of energy that's generated by solar, the amount of energy that is generated by wind, and the amount of energy that is saved by efficiency, those numbers are growing to the point where fossil fuels are beginning to look like, you know, fossils. They're beginning to look like relics. The people who embrace fossil fuels are yesterday's men, and I do mean mostly men. They are people with a total lack of vision who do not understand the way the world is going. I have no doubt that we can transition to a world where we do not put billions and billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We've got to do it quickly. We can't sit around on our backsides and not get the work done. But I think it's clear that there's a lot of things that we can do. We can generate a lot more sustainable energy than we are. I think the trends are going in that direction. The costs are going in that direction. The costs of solar and wind are dropping. The environmental costs of fossil fuels are going up. So I'm very much an optimist on that. I'm dismayed by the political influence that the oil companies have and continue to have. My feeling is that the grandchildren of those executives are going to be embarrassed by their grandparents.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, I know you got to go in a second, so I wanted to ask you, have you thought about doing a documentary, based on the work that you have been doing?
There are a number of documentaries that talk about the work we do, um, and yeah, I hope we can get the message out. I mean, in this day and age, social media is a very effective way of reaching people. I would encourage people who listen to this podcast and enjoyed what we've talked about would look at our website. It's savingnature.org. We're on Facebook. And I'm very proud of what my colleagues and I have achieved. We have wonderful partners, local people living in the various countries I mentioned, who are really doing a fantastic job to look after their environments.
Okay, okay. Now, okay, I guess the last question I could ask you, now, do you have any books? Have you written any books about the work that you have been doing?
I have a book. It came out almost a decade ago. It has a very modest title. It's The World According to Pimm, a scientist audits the Earth. And my publisher came up with the title. But yes, it's an account, or it's available in paperback. It's an account of what we're doing to the planet, but it's also an account of what we could do. So I encourage people to look at that and understand what we're doing to our world and understand what they can do. There's a lot of things we can do as individuals.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the platform and sharing that information. And I truly admire the work that you're doing. I hope that
Thank you.
more people will, join forces with you and do their part to make change for, better environment for our grandchildren and great great grandchildren.
Thanks so much. You have a wonderful day, and it's been great fun being on your program. Take care.
All right.